Hey guys, I wanted to do a video in regards to I have this 19 XP4 Turbo Razor Dynamics, and I recently upgraded to the 32s. And what I was having issues was when I would get that suspension completely articulated. I have the double XL fenders, and as you can see on this side, this one's fine, but on my last trip that I was down in Tennessee, I had an issue where on this side, it actually ripped the bottom of this fender off. And so my double XL, I gotta get either a replacement or I might try some plastic welding on that. So right now just have the standard one on it, but you can see how close that actually gets. So I got online and jumped on and started doing some homework in regards to figuring out about arched A-arms, and I was checking between L&W and ORB and Super ATV and Highlifter. So I came across all of them, and none of them seemed to, if you were to fit with this wheel, that wouldn't work, or if you had to have this type of wheel and this type of tire for it to work. Well, when I called Highlifter, they were the only ones that actually said you can use your stock wheels and tires, you'll be fine. It doesn't show to have any effect there. Now, well, after I put this on, we'll find out for sure, but you could see how close this is. So I went with their forward arms, which are 1.5 inch. So I felt like that was not too much, but just enough to maybe move that out. So we'll find out. These are 32s on 15-inch rims. It's one of the 6+1 wheels. So here is how I got my box from Highlifter. I did do the staples as far as with them, and here is basically my unboxing. Came well packaged. I tried to leave them intact just so you guys could be able to see exactly how I got to pull them out of here too. For all of us side-by-side owners, it's like Christmas anytime we get something like this, and this is no different. But trying to get these out. Here we go, guys. And I did opt for the ball joints to be in. They include that for free when you actually do them. So, I wanted to get the arched just for that extra little bit of clearance. It wasn't the case that these do have the mounts as far as for the sway bar and of course the shocks. It's typical ball joint as far as with them. I wouldn't say I'm extreme on the stuff where I'm trying to be like a rock bouncer, but I enjoy a good hill climb enough to really get the adrenaline pumping. So that's why I felt, hey, let's keep running it. So I like that safe side of it, but still get my kicks. So I didn't feel the necessity to upgrade to Keller quite yet, as everybody kind of wants to recommend them all the time. Got the arms all actually out of the box, and so getting to take a look at what they show on there. The arms all look in good shape. I went through under the instructions, and they included the steering stops, for the bushings, zip ties for the stops. After kind of going back and forth on that, I think I'm going to go with not using the steering stops. They're stating as far as on the axles, on too much turning, it can twist the stock axles and cause them to bind, which can cause damage. That's where a lot of guys are, arguing which axle is the best. But I think I want to keep those off there and run stock axles. And if I'm on a sharp turn, obviously take it out of four-wheel drive. Other thing that I'm kind of seeing that wasn't so sure about was for the brake lines. If you look on here, brake lines have this guy on here to actually keep it secured. You can see down there they got it riveted on there, and these are showing on there. But for the arms, which is fine, but I expect it a little bit nicer in regards to that. They got the zip ties, as far as with them. and you are to zip tie it to the arms. It should be fine. It's just that, you know, I would have liked to probably seen like an adapter maybe, or something that just snaps around, kind of like the collars for the steering. So, and I'm trying to show you that they do have picture by picture, which is great. I think that's beneficial, especially to kind of see the process that they expect you to follow. I think that helps out instead of just going online and trying to get an idea of, hey, what do I want to do? But yeah, my next step is I'm going to start ripping this apart, and hopefully everything comes apart good. I feel good about that side. I mean, it's a, you know, being into 19, so it's, you know, a year old, so hoping everything comes apart, and we'll get you an update right after I get them put on. Okay, guys, updated to be able to see the arms are on, and everything was looking good, and I'm happy with everything other than two things. One, they want you to use just some generic zip lines that they supply to be able to secure your brake line. I would have liked to seen something different there, just from the difference of on the factory. The factory used these little brackets, and you can pull them up, and they're riveted onto the arms, and it holds the line. I think it just looks a little nicer. You know, minor things, but it is in the case that really can be one of those things that helps sets it over the top. The other thing was the bushings. You know, it's easy enough as far as swapping them over, but compared to the factory design was a, you know, you got to knock out both sides of them, but you also got to get these little clips. Now they send you some extras because the factory uses one on, as far as, for example, on the upper, but on the lowers you just, you know, squish them in, and you actually use two for these, which is fine as well. Just like I said, just minor complaints, but other than that, they look good. I was happy to see, you know, I love being able to see the little things that kind of just give you the little touches. We'll see how this ends up holding up over time. You know, these rocks and everything else would abuse it, and we'll see what happens. But, you know, everything else came together pretty good. So I'm happy with it. So we'll get a little update after that. But you can already tell as far as just that arch difference, especially when you start to look at it over on the other side. So I expect good things out of being able to all be out on the trail. We'll follow up after we get this back on the tires. All right, guys, wanted to leave you with my final thoughts after I have everything installed. I got both sides on. You know, everything was really nice as far as with it. It all went on good. Everything slid in, you know, just how I wanted to. I think the only thing I would say that I would do differently is I probably would have ordered, you know, some bushings, you know, a couple companies. I probably would have wanted to do that instead of putting the factory back in. That probably took me more time than I would have liked to have seen. But, you know, it gave me the clearance that I was kind of looking for on the fenders. That's what I was after. I just needed that to be bumped out right there, so that when that wheel starts flexing, it's not catching the bottom of that fender. You know, the downside, my toy hauler, yeah, I got a 24-foot that fits this monster in there. It's going to lose a little clearance, which I already had lost clearance when I put the 32s on. But now I might have to maybe take the stock 29s and go to maybe a 27 and put those on there, so that when I put it in the toy hauler, it's all set. You know, I would love to have said, hey, I've got to go out there and ride it and see what it does, but that'll be for the next trip, hopefully sooner than later, depending on what's going on with the world right now. But yeah, I'll give an update at that point, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.